welcome to day 3 of Made to Thrive. I am so beyond grateful to be sharing this space with you. I think there's nothing better than spending a little bit of time understanding ourselves, really exploring what it is that's actually happening here, and start to allow ourselves to experience what it is to tap into real solutions, right? Real solutions. And I think a deeper understanding of what it is to be made to thrive. Like, why do I keep saying that you are made to thrive? And I hope it's been landing. I hope it's been landing that beneath the pressures and beneath all of the way that we've been attuned and beneath the stressors that keep activating our maybe latent or innate stressed systems, I hope beneath all of that, what you are also receiving and understanding is that there's another way forward, right? That just because you've been attuned to stress doesn't mean that you have to stay that way. And just because we live in a very increasingly stressful world, and that's probably not going to go away, it becomes even more important. Like, okay, so how do I stay in the game? Right? Like, I'm not ready to opt out. And how do I stay in the game? And really, that's the message of Made to Thrive is you you get to stay in the game of life and you get to actually rock it the way that you always intended to, right? So we've had a really, I think, deep 2-day journey already. Um, we've named the problem, right? You've understood it in a different way. You understand now that the root of burnout is not a personal failure, right? It's not that you're somehow flawed. It is not a loss of moral compass, right? Ah, I just like felt this release in my body as I was saying that because I think we carry so much shame and we carry so much blame and nobody's going to ride you harder than you do. Point blank, that's probably the way it needs to be. I don't know. But I have also come to this incredible conclusion that through the cultivation of things like self respect, self reverence, self compassion, self understanding, when we start focusing on cultivating these characteristics within ourselves and we substitute them, sort of like you've probably heard this, that when you're creating a new habit, when you're trying to break an old habit, it actually helps to be building a new one at the same time. So it's like I'm divesting from one set of neural networks, right? I'm taking that energy away from there and I'm investing that energy into the creation of a new neural network. And so this transition of like, oh, I'm not going to be so hard on myself is really helpful when it's matched with a like, well, I'm going to actually practice self-kindness. I'm going to actually practice self-compassion. I'm going to actually discover what it is to be this like compassionate, curious witness, which is the seed of true wisdom in our lives. Like, that is the inner intelligence that we all have access to. And it's when we access that that we open ourselves up to so many new possibilities, right? So I felt that release when it was like, oh my gosh, now that we understand the problem, there is a natural, innate space for self forgiveness. Let's all just embody a little bit more of that, right? Because that is so helpful. And then we spend a little bit of time in day 2 talking about what real change requires. We're going to touch more a little bit on all of that, but I also want us to know that today is really about like possibility. What becomes possible for you when you're no longer in survival mode? What becomes possible for you when you're no longer running consistently, chronically, continuously on this stressed nervous system state, because that part of the conversation gets really good really fast. Today's really about what becomes possible in your life for you, within you, when you aren't organized around a survival based pattern. What I know for sure, is that you were not made to cope, endure, hold it all together, and white knuckle your way through this life. I know that you were made to thrive. The science is so obvious, the science is so clear. We were made to thrive. And so we're going to really drill that in today, because for so many of us, I think we think that that's a possibility for, like, oh, that's for those people, right? Like that wellness stuff, that mindset stuff, that like living a life that you really love thing. It's almost like we co-signed that that's maybe not for us, and it's for those people. This is just how it is for me now. And my deep desire, my deep hope for you is that by the time that we're done here, you realize that that isn't off limits for you, that it is, in fact, the birthright of every human, that we get to be not just engaged with our lives and not just going for things that light us up, but that we get to be deeply supported, and we get to see ourselves thrive, and that when we do, everybody around us thrives. This isn't, I don't talk about thriving in an isolated container, although that's fine if that's how you want to apply it, like no judgment here. But what really, really I see that when you are thriving, when you are full on thriving, everybody around you gets to thrive. This lights me up, like the idea that I get to help you resource yourself. I get to help you become more of who you really want to be, and then you'll go out and have this like ripple impact, this ripple effect on everyone in your life. It affects everyone in your home, it affects everyone in your family, it affects everybody close to you. It positively influences every single person that you touch, every piece of everything that comes into your sphere is benefited when you do this work, right? So as I see this, it's like the ripple effect is just so massive, it's so huge, because you do big things in this world and you touch really important lives, and when you thrive, everyone around you gets to thrive too. It's not just for you, although it would be good enough if it was, like, for sure, for sure. Let's just do like a quick recap, because sometimes we need a map. Today we're going to talk a lot about maps. We're going to talk about a lot. We're going to talk a lot about like, where are we headed? Where have we been? Where are we going? And what's next? And so let's orient ourselves right now. Just like day one, burnout is not the problem you think it is. I think we rocked that. I think we rocked that. Let me know. I'm so interested. Have you discovered that burnout is really more of a nervous system and capacity issue over anything else? Has that been drilled home? Will you drop a one in the chat for me if you're like, got it, this is it? Yes, I understand. It's not a personal failure. It isn't that I'm somehow fundamentally flawed. It isn't that I'm broken. It isn't that I can't hang. It's not that I'm not strong enough, resilient enough. It's not that somehow all of the other tactics that people talk about don't work for me must mean that I'm somehow failed. Like, we get that, right? And we also get that the mindset strategy is not a failed strategy unto itself, right? It's just that it doesn't work when the nervous system is chronically stressed, right? Mindset work, like, I am a mindset ninja. Like, that is the work that I love. It is so obvious that we can't do meaningful, sustainable mindset work. We cannot shift the mind and orient it so that the thoughts and the beliefs that we hold align with the desires that are in our hearts and are destined for us. I love that work. I love that work so much. I love liberating the patterns of the past. I love liberating the things that keep us tethered to the past and keep us recreating patterns that no longer serve us. Okay, so we get it, right? This is the thing. The nervous system state determines the brain state, determines what level of thought we have access to, determines what level of consciousness we have access to. Very interesting. Nervous system state on functional MRI of the brain shows us how much baseline neural activity is taking place in the most primitive regions of the brain. As we become more regulated, as we rebalance the nervous system, as we become more coherent, we start moving metabolic activity into the prefrontal cortex. Now we're living from the seat of executive function, right? Now we can think clearly, we can make decisions, we can synthesize really complex pieces of information into a very concise and simple understanding of what the next best step forward is. We're not spinning our wheels, we're not confused, we're not in doubt, we're not in insecurity. We are in the seat where we're meant to be driving our life from. That is self leadership, right? Living from that place is really leadership. So we really understand burnout is not the problem that we think it is. That's really good news. Day two, we looked at what sustainable success really requires. That you cannot create a different life from the same overdriven internal operating system. That's like the key message from day two, right? And we went into so much of that. Like, what is the real cost, right, of this chronic overdrive? And we spoke about the physical, mental, emotional, relational, financial, spiritual cost, because the cost is massive. And it also just costs us the relationship that we ourselves. It costs us all of us. Like the cost is all of us. We lose ourselves in the process. And it's so easy for because I remember it, like I remember it so well. I haven't lived in that place for a very long time. It's been since like 2012, and it's what is it, 2026? It's been 14 years since I've lived there, but I remember it because, like, the brain is really good at remembering painful experiences, exquisitely so. And so I remember it like it was yesterday. And I remember feeling just like a shell of myself and feeling like it was never meant to be this hard. Like having this moment with myself where I was like, yeah, I always knew like I was going to have to challenge myself. I was going to like do hard things and I was going to show up for really hard things, but I knew it wasn't supposed to be this hard. And now I realize that that's the point. That kind of inner dialogue is the signal that's telling us, you're right, it was never supposed to be this hard. And that's when we start working against ourselves. That's when we're trying all of the strategies, the things aren't working because we have the wrong strategy for this specific problem, right? Like I was saying yesterday, like all of those strategies can be right when they're applied in the right way. But when we have the right strategy applied to the wrong problem at the wrong time yields very poor results. So what I hope I made very clear yesterday as well on the back end of this is that as we expand nervous system stability, we expand our capacity to lead, right? That through nervous system stability, we expand our capacity to meet life and leadership naturally emerges, right? Because there's more steadiness, there's greater focus, there's greater clarity of thinking, there's higher levels of thought available. This is where innovation, creativity, novel solutions, ingenuity all live. And so it is in our best interest to discover what is it that stabilizes my system? What is it to have a stable nervous system? What is it to be coherent, to have coherence, to have, when I say coherence, there's this really interesting set of 40,000 neurons that live around your heart. And those 40,000 neurons have been called the heart brain. They're deeply intelligent. Those 40,000 neurons have the ability to regulate the trillions of neurons that live between the brain, the spinal column, and the entire nervous system as a whole. So this is sort of like, if you think about the number of cells here, they're like this. This is the control center, right? And what is so beautiful about this is that when we get into heart brain coherence, which is the foundation of what's inside Stress Mastery Academy, it is the program I put all of my VIP clients through, unless they come through Stress Mastery Academy, which many do. And then it's just the stepping stone to deeper work, because now they have the capacity to do the deeper work, and now like change starts happening really quickly. I rather like that. And so it's this ability, it's something we can train for, right? It's something we can build. And just like we build anything else in the human body, as we build it, it becomes easier and easier to access and work with and direct. And it is this really powerful set of neural networks, this heart brain. And when it's coherent, when that heart brain is coherent, it sends signals through the entire nervous system for stability. And over time, when you have moments of stability every day, even if it's just 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day, imagine that you could create nervous system stability in minutes a day over a several week period, over an 8-week period. The stability will start to, the stability sets in very quickly. It doesn't take full 8 weeks. But to master the skill of doing this shifting on demand, 8 weeks, right? And when you start doing this, when you start practicing heart brain coherence, the shift that you start feeling is just incredible. It feels like nourishment. It feels like restoration. It feels like you're fully resourced from the inside out, because you are, like quite literally, you are. And so I dive into the science of all of this inside Stress Mastery Academy. It is like Netflix for your brain. It is so great. The science that's there, it is fascinating. And so there is this little coherence building process, and that once it's built, you are able to be self-directed. You are able to be sovereign. You are able to lead with clarity and compassion, right? It's not the kind of leadership that is hard and rigid and full force. It's the kind of leadership that is wise and loving and compassionate and brilliant and effective, profoundly effective. And this might be one of the most important things that we can bring into our lives is self leadership. And I want to say why. I was recently on a guest on a podcast where I was being interviewed. I will share it eventually. I think it was something like leaders leaders leading leaders. It was a lot of there was a lot of leaders in there. Leaders leading leaders. And I was asked a lot about leadership because I'm kind of known in the leadership space. And I had noted that I think that this is like there's never been a more pressing time for us each as individuals to start really practicing, getting curious and practicing what it is to be a leader. That self leadership is the only way forward from this, from truly what I see as this moment forward. When we see a collapse of leadership at the highest levels, which we are so seeing right now, that collapse of leadership, and it's the collapse of healthy, strong, visionary leadership that I'm talking about, right? The kind of leadership that knows that we're all meant to thrive and we all get to do it together, that kind of leadership. And so when we don't have any leaders left, we all have to start getting curious about, okay, maybe I'm the leader. Maybe I'm the one that needs to lead myself and my family and this community and the people around me. Maybe I'm being asked to step into new levels of leadership, and maybe we all are, because in telling you, no matter who you are, you're leading someone. And I know if you're here listening to me, you actually lead a lot of people. Even if you don't have the title leader, you are leading, and people are watching, and people are following along, whether you know it or not. Right? I hope, I don't know. Is that good news or bad news? It's all good news, right? It's all another opportunity to get curious about, oh my gosh, if people are watching me, which they are, in what ways do I want to lead? It's really easy to point out a lack of leadership in the people around us, especially when we've been able to lean on them. And when that pillar of leadership is no longer available, we become the pillar of leadership. And that is a seismic shift. That is a massive internal shift for some of us to actually step into more leadership. I know it's been for myself. And it's so interesting because as I entertain that question, like what is self leadership and how do I want to lead? And like, okay, knowing that my kids are watching, knowing that the people around me are watching, and knowing that I'm here to actually lead people to a better, brighter future, what does that ask of me? So many of us that come into spaces like this where we burn out, we are natural leaders. We are natural leaders. We just have that skill. Like people listen to us. We know things. We're kind of smart. We kind of have a little confidence. We're kind of pretty good at what we do, or damn good at what we do. And so, really getting curious about new levels of leadership is a really powerful reflective exercise. And I encourage all of us to do it because as I entertain it more and more, and I realize my job is to be the visionary, right? My job is to be healthy. My job is to be strong, not in a forcing way, but in a very resilient, adaptive, intelligent way. And I am so interested in living with more and more intelligence, higher and higher levels of consciousness. That is the juice for me. Because as I do that, I realize more and more synchronicities and serendipities and more things start unfolding in my life that show me the power of my mind, the power of my thoughts, and where I am headed. And I am so open to this feedback. Everything in life is just feedback. Now, before we get too far into that, I also want to add a caveat that for most people that get to this place that are suffering burnout, we also have been in systems that have systematically been oppressive. I am not denying the fact that we live in systems and social constructs and hierarchies that have oftentimes precipitated, exacerbated, or hastened that whole natural progression of burnout, right? Chronic stress is very rarely internally derived. It is almost always a phenomenon of internal availability and external circumstances meeting one another. And because we cannot control external circumstances, right? I cannot change the entire healthcare system overnight, right? I cannot make it more equitable. I cannot make it more just. I cannot make it the utopia that I want it to be, that I wish it to be. I cannot, wave my magic wand and make it the epicenter of profound health and healing for people. And I have had to wake up. I'm going to just be honest. I have had to wake up to the levels of racism and misogyny and classism and all kinds of things that I somehow thought the medical field was immune from. I thought we're all here as healers, we're all here to help one another. And so when I met with a lot of those systems, I internalized them, which is what we do, which is what we do in a lot of situations, right? Where we're like onboarded. There's a very long onboarding process in the medical field, medical school, internship, residency, fellowship. There's a very long indoctrination process. And I now understand this in a whole new way. And so it would make sense that when I found myself in that system, I wasn't able to thrive. But it was also because I did not have the internal resources to meet that system. Right? I left that system. And then I went on to create a business that I loved. And would you know it, that I started recreating the same patterns of burnout that had me going like, I can't go on like this isn't going to work, like this is killing me, this can't be the way that it works. I created the same circumstances, the same conditions in the business that I own. I was my boss. This is internalized patterning, right? This is a nervous system that hasn't been fully optimized or restored or rebalanced, alongside a set of belief systems and thought structures and neural architecture that just keep getting constantly utilized, because stress-based neural circuitry is in the most primitive regions of the brain. As we start constructing new neural networks that align with our highest level of self-leadership, we are accessing a different level of the brain, right? And over time, the more you keep building new neural networks and you start thinking the thoughts that align with them, you start reprogramming this so that when you do fall back into stressful patterns, you don't stay there as long. And as you have practice building coherence, you become aware of it faster. So you move out of it faster. Is this all like landing? Right? It's like, oh, I stay back there less frequently. When I do fall back there, I can actually get back up here faster. Okay. Now the game is one I can play, whatever game you decide to play. If you decide to stay where you are and like milk it for all it's got for you, do that. If you decide you want to pivot to something else, if this is a transition zone for you, I am telling you, optimize yourself for the transition so that it is successful. Because the success that you truly want is going to require an operating system that can rise to meet it, right? And you don't have to kill your ambition. You don't have to exit stage left unless you want to, unless you want to, and then live in that power and live in your choice and know that you've got me and legions of people backing you up, cheering you on, supporting you. Because when we start doing this work, we are all connected. We are all connected. And so in this ecosystem, in the ecosystem that is Dr. Tami, we all support one each other. We are all here for one another. We are all cheering for one another. We are celebrating our way to success. This is the way we do it here. We don't do it any other way. Yeah. And so we're all learning, oh my gosh, what does that even look like? Right. So we're done with self blame. We're into this relief mode. We're understanding a deeper truth. We're starting to choose a different future. We're starting to choose a different future. And now I want to, now that we've shed some of the self blame, now that we're open to maybe a little bit of forgiveness, maybe we're realizing I can't force my way down this path. You cannot force your way into this. That for me was maybe one of the hardest things to accept. I was like, okay, I'm gonna work with my biofeedback device. I'm gonna get real-time feedback. And it taught me so quickly that the more I actually lean back, the more I let go, the higher my coherence numbers go. And then I started playing there. I was like, okay, let's just see, like, how long can I stay coherent? How high can I get? Like, I just gamified it, you know? And now, years later, I am 100% confident, sure, convinced that the success that I built in my life, I love the way that I mother. I love the way that I wife. I love the way that I am a daughter. I love the way I lead my company. I love the way that I work with my clients. I love what I'm building. I love the level of leadership I'm stepping into. I'm not always like surefoot. Like I am so in the game of evolution, of self growth and self evolution. And when you're in that game, you're always kind of like one foot, like one foot is leaping forward. You're kind of like, I don't know how this is gonna roll, but I'm going for it, baby. And one foot is like grounded and like, I know who I am. I know where I'm coming from. I know what I'm made of. I know I can do this. And one foot is like leaping forward, right? And didn't we come here for that game? Didn't we come here to be able to do that? Didn't we come here for the moments that you like look your children in the eye and you tear up because you are just overwhelmed with this profound awe for them, for your relationship with them, for life? Didn't we come here to have our socks knocked off? You know, like, didn't we come here to have a moment of serendipity or synchronicity and or coincidence, which all of those are code words for you are part of a co-creative universe and you are feeding forward and it is feeding back. And isn't this such a fun little sign of how powerful you are? How important and valuable you are to all that is? And when we're in this stress state, when we're living from back here, we miss them. We don't even see them. They're happening, but we don't experience them. We don't know that they're happening. The love around you is always available, but we don't experience it. The wisdom, the brilliant thought, the way forward is always available, but you don't receive it. There's abundance and connections and opportunity knocking on your door, but you can't open it. And there's an entire gorgeous life dancing around you, and we're too exhausted and depleted to meet it. No, that's not happening anymore. It doesn't have to happen anymore. It does not have to happen anymore. Those are optional. And when we understand that our disengagement, our exhaustion, our defeat, our depletion are all symptoms of running on the wrong fuel source and acting and living from a stressed nervous system, no mammal, no organism can survive in a chronic state of stress. Humans are no exception. We were not made to survive. We were made to thrive. Neurobiologically, physiologically, anatomically designed to thrive. And the fact that the brilliant minds, Roland McCready and all of those genius minds over there at Heart Math Institute, I'm honored to be a collaborator and a partner of theirs. And I connect with the leadership team over there from time to time. Brilliant souls. I am honored to be providing clients with their technology. We use Heart Math biofeedback technology. And they've been at the game since like 1991. They're not new kids in town. Um, and this opportunity to get coherent, like just the benefits of it are so profound. It goes even beyond like self leadership. It really is, in terms of well being, it would be physical, mental, emotional, relational, financial, spiritual upgrade, right? And really, it's because we're upgrading the operating system, we're upgrading the nervous system, we're upgrading the hardware. And even beyond that, we're actually allowing the brain to start doing what it does so well. The brain is more of a like transceiver, right? It's transmitting thoughts and it's receiving thoughts. And when we start optimizing brainwave states, brain like functional anatomic regions of the brain, all of these things become optimized. So for us thinking types, it's really easy to fall in love with what becomes possible. And so let's talk a little bit about what can become possible. Because what would it be like if you could consistently show up in your life? What would it be like to know that you are fully resourced, that you're supported, that the change that you seek is more available and more real than you ever thought possible? And that you're at the place now where insight and information is finally integrated. It finally becomes like lived knowledge in your body. There's a lot of talk, I think, in like the coaching world about like embodiment, be embodied. And those are really good things. And it wasn't until I started doing nervous system work that I was able to actually, this is what it is to be embodied. It's like I now know it as like interoceptive awareness. This is the thing where like I'm actually aware of my internal state. I'm actually aware of my nervous system state. I'm aware of my emotions. I'm aware of the way that the thoughts show up in my body. And that unlocks so much power. It's insane. It's like out of this world. Awareness is the greatest liberator. And as long as we're living disconnected from our own selves, we will always be disempowered. We will always be living in a chronic nervous system state that is oriented to stress, and we will always be easily manipulated. We will always be acting in and out of fear. We will be perpetuating that in everybody around us, and it is a method of mass control. Do not underestimate the powers that be and their likely largely deeply invested interest in keeping us very easily manipulated. And so this is, in so many ways, this is a movement that is pro thriving. Like, we are about thriving in this sphere, in this space. We are about looking at our own energy. Where are we spending it? Where are we investing it? Our attention, where is it being spent and where is it being invested? Our focus, our money, right? It's like this major transition period where we're looking at, I very rarely spend anything anymore. My time, my energy, my focus, my attention, everything now is an investment in my recovery, an investment in my resilience, an investment in my resourcing, an investment in my present, an investment in healing, and an investment in the future. Everything has a purpose. And I'm really open to discovering all of the places that don't, right? Because I am a student of this work. I am not perfect. I am so far from perfect. And I don't need to be, right? Like, that's the beautiful thing. I'm far more interested in being fulfilled, happy, resourced, on like living in my passion, living in the growth zone, living for impact, living to change lives. Hopefully, maybe yours. None of that becomes possible if I hadn't done this deeper embodiment work, which is like really integrating insight and information. I think we've come to the point where we realize like knowing isn't enough. Now is the time to know how. How do I bring this skill set into my life? How do I move forward with this? And before we even start asking how, we want to ask why. Why would I want this? And so, can we dive in there? I want you, if you're going to come back to this recording, you can either pause it or grab a notebook now if you want. I really think that there are some really seriously valuable questions that I want us to entertain. And this is how we can start to turn like insight and information into deeper intelligence, into a knowing, into an understanding of what it is to integrate, right? It's getting curious about what would it be like, right? What is available for us? It's more peace, more steadiness, more self-trust, more joy, more room for ambition without self-abandonment, more space for success, and really more meaningful, sustainable success. That's all available. It is, I believe, a prerequisite for us to build a meaningful life that we do so without sacrificing ourselves. We just have to decide that the cost that we've been paying for the success, for the level of success that we currently have, is too great of a cost. And we're no longer willing to spend it. We're no longer willing to pay that cost. We don't have to anymore. And so, why would you want to do this work? Why? Like, why? What's in it for you? Let's go there. I want you to consider some of these questions. If your life was no longer organized around survival, what would become possible? I'm going to list off several questions that I think will really help you gain clarity and turn this level of information and insight into intelligent, embodied wisdom for you and your life going forward. I'm going to read off some of the questions that I've crafted for you. This one is really good. Who would you be if your success no longer required constant self abandonment? Mm. Who would you be if your success no longer required constant self abandonment? And another one, what would change if you trusted yourself, supported yourself, and led from a regulated, resourced place? What would change if you trusted yourself, supported yourself, and led yourself from a regulated, resourced place? And what are you no longer available for? What kind of life are you ready to build instead? Mm. What are you no longer available for? That's one question. The other question is, what kind of life are you ready to build instead? And I want you to tap into how resourceful you already are. I want you to celebrate yourself for a moment. What have you created? How resourceful have you been in creating the life that you have right now? Celebrate you, celebrate that. Now imagine, what will you create? What could you create when you are fully resourced? Imagine what you've created not being fully resourced. You haven't even been fully resourced, like ever. You've probably not had nervous system stability since you were a child. And look at what you've created. You're amazing. And so now I want you to give yourself an opportunity to imagine, okay, if I really was fully resourced, if I had clarity, if I had steadiness, if I didn't fall into like insecurity and doubt, and if I wasn't wrapped up in my own anger, and I wasn't pissed off, and I wasn't depleted, and I wasn't exhausted, and I wasn't defeated, and I was like, oh my goodness, if I was happy, if I was content, if I was in a little awe, if I had peace, if I had calm, if I had focus, if I had my full presence, if I was working with all of the life force energy that is within me and I was actually guiding that, I was fully resourced to guide that, what will I create, or what could I create from there when I am fully resourced? And then what? Right? Because sometimes we cut ourselves short on that question. We cut ourselves short on that question. We're like, we like don't let ourselves go to what it is we really desire. So, and then what? And if there was more, what more would there be? Right? Get it all out. Get it all out. Because there is so much inside you. There is so much life that you want to live. There is a new level of leadership that is asking you to come forward, that is asking to be birthed through you. And you get to lead it. You get to have it. You get to actually have a life you love living. Let's just start with enjoying the shit out of it. Right? Because it's really like our big, the big kind of like blaring light, the yield, right? Is when the things that you love in your life start to feel heavy and hard. That's when we know. That's when we know we're not fully resourced. When the dreams are the things wearing us down. And sometimes it means it's time to dream again. It's time for a new dream. It's time for another vision, right? Where there is no vision, the people perish. We need a new vision. Let yourself set your vision. This is important. We need a vision. We need something that lights us up. We need something that we desire. We need something. We benefit so much from having a destination that we're marching towards, that we're working towards. So just let yourself paint a new destination. Let yourself explore what would it be like if I wasn't chronically this way? And let yourself fall in love with that version of you. Because until we start articulating, until we start imagining, until we start realizing that that version of us exists, we can't actualize it. We can't bring it into our lived experience. And in so many ways, this is what I call like building the new inner architecture. This is the new neural networks. This is you literally creating new neural architecture. This isn't easy work. You can't get it wrong. You can't mess it up, right? It's oftentimes coming back to these same series of questions and refining them over time, you know? Because as you evolve, so will your vision. As you grow, so will your heart and your dreams. As you become more stable, more will become available for you. And that is the journey, right? That is the journey of becoming. We're never done. You're never done. And I have a like a love-hate relationship with that. I'm like, sometimes that's really great news, and sometimes that is just not good news. What's your relationship with it, right? We're always in process, but the better it gets, the better it gets, right? So I wanted to let you know that we are adding to the calendar. We're having a bonus session. Made to Thrive is going to have an integration and Q&A call on Wednesday, May 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You've already registered, so you're going to get the link sent to you. We're going to have the most wonderful time. Come live, bring your questions. If you can't bring your questions, I invite you to submit them via email. You can just reply to the email that held the details for anything inside Made to Thrive. And my team's going to collect all of those and we're going to answer them. And come live, share your questions. I promise you, whatever you share, other people will benefit from. Because what I know is that we all share the same common themes. We do. Our struggles are so related. When we hear another person struggle, when we hear them work through their struggle, when we hear a question asked, it gives us a deeper level of understanding and appreciation for our own lived experience. Every question is a gift. It's a gift for you, and it's a gift for everybody that joins us. So ask away. I can't wait to see you there. I really hope this was helpful for you. I hope that what we've done is like understand that burnout isn't the problem you think it is. I hope you now see that it really requires a different solution forward. And I hope that you start allowing yourself to cast a vision of a future with you in it, with you so fully in it, with you the main character of your life. And that main character is so resourced. And what in what ways and what kind of life do you get to lead and live and love from there? Mm. Thank you so much for being here. I can't wait to see you next week. Thank you. I'm hearing this has been so great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so, so much. I'm so happy we're doing Made to Thrive. This 3-day experience is not over. I can't wait to see you next week for our integration and Q&A call. Bye.